Well, guys, we are rapidly running out of time in the month of August. Let's see. Wednesday, I believe, is the 1st of September. So we have
Yeah, I think so.
two more fully open market days. Kyle, I regret to inform you, you have a long way to go and a very, very short time to get
Oh
there.
yeah, that's looking real good.
Can't win them all, I suppose.
Yeah.
What happened? Last week. I know that we all got a bit of a haircut last week. I mean, you were still in last, but you were fairly close. I want to say compared to the rest of us. What went
I
wrong?
guess I don't know. I mean, I'm the only big losses that I've taken are Callaway's at -8 and Starbucks at -5,
Okay,
and
but
everything else.
for a month, I suppose if you don't have enough to counteract those, maybe that's
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. I mean, like Ethereum and Bitcoin are the big carries right
Yeah.
now, and the only thing that's up a lot is other than those two is like Cognizant's up 5, and then Delta's up 3.9. So
Mm.
like it's kind of decent, but there's just nothing that's like pulling really hard, I guess, other than Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I'm pretty sure everyone else has that too. Or yeah,
We do
right,
all have at least one of those now, so the competitive advantage from anything that comes out of those is greatly diminished.
exactly.
I gotcha. Kyle, you practically doubled up from last week. Is it all Ethereum and Bitcoin, or did anything else pop off for you?
I think it's Ripple.
Ripple,
Mm.
Yeah, or whatever. I don't think it's
you sound
'cause
so excited.
I don't have Ethereum, and I don't think Bitcoin actually moved like a ton compared to the week, if I remember correctly. If I remember where it
I
was
was
at
really
last week.
hoping it would break 50 and hold there, but it did not.
Yeah,
It's
so I think
it's stuck right between like 48 and 49 and a half.
yeah, so that didn't really move a ton. So
No.
I think yeah, it was seemed to be mostly. If I look at my daily, yeah, I think it's mostly. I guess Ripple and Tesla has gotten itself up a little bit this week, but those are the main two things, I guess.
Up is relative with them.
Well, up is relative. It's just they're positive now. They were like very negative before, so that
True. So
is
for the month, they're having a good month. All time, it's still not great.
yeah.
Guess that Tesla AI day must not have bumped the stock the way they were hoping it might. So, jeez, I didn't watch it. Did either of you guys watch it?
I did not.
Okay,
No, I didn't watch the full
I heard it was kind
demo
of a
thing.
waste of time.
Mm.
Well, I mean, like we are talking
Yeah,
about it,
I think we all
it was
knew it
like
was
very,
going to be a waste of time.
Yeah.
But
just seemed very announcement focused.
a very bona fide waste of time, as opposed to kind of sort of a waste of time. But speaking of waste of time, following up on our delightful analysis of the KFC financial literacy program, I have another gem from the fast food industry.
Oh
And not
boy.
just from fast food, also from the fried chicken industry.
Ooh,
Southern restaurant food chain Bojangles. Have you ever eaten there?
I have not.
No, I've never eaten that one.
My brother lives in Tennessee, and so he and his friends have eaten there. They say it's really good. I mean, I don't know. It's like fast food chicken. Like, good is relative, right?
Hmm.
Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that Bojangles, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to close for 2 Mondays to give staff a well deserved break. Now, the kicker to this announcement, are staff
Is it?
being paid for these days off? No.
Oh boy.
So
Here
just
are 2 unpaid days off that are not even back to back. They are 1 day per week for the next 2 weeks.
Oh boy.
Are you stupid? Well, clearly they're stupid, but like, this stupid?
No, dude.
Who thought
Everyone
this was
wants
a
a
good
vacation.
idea?
Everyone loves unpaid vacation.
Yeah, like unpaid vacation.
oh hey, if you go to their site, they have it listed. News and community.
Hmm.
Ah.
They're very proud of that.
So this came out 3 days ago. Yeah.
Yep.
to close for 2 upcoming Mondays to give hardworking staff a break.
Boy.
Okay, so bare minimum, I think there's a couple things wrong here, which we've already alluded to. A, they're not in a row, and B, they're not paid. So
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I guess it's nice that I don't have to go to work on Monday, but yeah, I didn't get paid for it, so it's not like I have to work that Monday somewhere else. I probably don't normally work now, right? Because I probably still need the money.
well, and see, that's a very important point. How many of those people actually get that day off from work, and how many of them have to go work somewhere else now because they aren't getting paid?
Yeah.
Like, is it really this difficult for fast food to figure out how to treat people appropriately?
Guess so. I don't know.
It's
shouldn't
like
be
I don't know.
rocket science, and yet for
I don't
the
know if it's
second
like
week in a row, we have
I'm not
a
sure if it's like
glaring
a fast
example
food
of just how
specific.
dumb these people are, or
Maybe
how
it is
out of
fast
touch, I should say.
Maybe it is fast food specific. I don't know. It's just an industry that is just an industry that is pretty much survived off the idea that it has a readily available cheap labor market.
Mhm.
You know, that doesn't need to be paid a living wage. Like the expectation, I think, in everyone, or not in everyone, but in every one of these people's minds is that our workers should be minimum wage shouldn't be a living wage because the people being working for it for us should be just like high schoolers looking for their first, in their mind. Ideally, it's all high schoolers looking for their first job. And what they don't understand is like the reality of the world is that you have grown adults working these jobs because they need to pay rent or mortgage or pay for, or they need health insurance, or whatever. And the only way to get health insurance in America is to have a job or pay out the ass.
Yeah.
So, all those things are true. So, I think, if you told a high school kid, next 2 Mondays, just don't show up. You don't get paid, but just don't show up. Like, honestly, like, that kid is probably like, oh, like, all right. Like, oh, I think this is like a big good deal, but they probably don't see it as a negative. Whereas an adult is probably like, this probably does more against me than it does to actually, like, help.
Well,
me
and
in
so
terms
this
of
is the thing,
business.
like, to your point, worker demographics do matter in answering this question. But I would bet heavily that most of the people that work there are not high school age kids.
They're not. Well, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
think the problem is that the people who come up with these things, like $50 a month, like whatever that was or whatever that we talked about, like that, like okay, maybe if that's like allowance, like that's what I'm saying. Like maybe if I was a kid, I'm getting fiscal responsibility out of it when I don't have any, and $50 a month lets me buy I don't know, another video game or some
gas.
more, take a gas or some extra weed or whatever it is that teenagers want to spend their fucking money on. Like, but like as an adult, you go like, this literally does nothing to help my situation, right? Like the reality of my situation. So it's just like a strict like a lack of true understanding of who they are trying to or who they're actually talking. Like they don't understand who their workers are and what their workers' problems are.
I mean, I think it could be that, but also just like a total, like, I don't know. I guess, like, I don't even know. Like they're totally disengaged from like the reality that they're thinking their employees are making livable wages and that they can afford to like have an unpaid vacation or something, right? They don't think like people are paycheck to paycheck or struggling to get by. Yeah. Or I guess they don't know what is the cost of living.
I hesitate to say that they just don't care.
I hesitate to say that they don't know because I said they don't know too, but or that they think that their kids are their workers are kids. I feel like they know what the actual demographic and the problems of their employees are. It's just like Jordan said, they don't care, so they pretend like we hire kids.
We're doing this really great thing. Look at
us. We our work staff is full of kids who don't have problems, so we do these things that help them, and it should be good publicity. I feel like they know that these things don't solve anything. They're hoping that the optics of it, just like if you don't do enough research into it, the optics of it might look good.
Yeah.
So we'll do it anyways.
Okay,
like, I
well,
mean-
it's funny that you bring up teenage labor because this actually ties into the next story I wanted to talk about tonight. So we can discuss these at the same time. But the headline reads, and try to not be surprised by this. Some businesses turn to 14 and 15-year-olds to address massive staffing shortages.
That doesn't surprise me.
Nice.
So,
Probably work them more than 20 hours a week or like up to the limit. They probably have
Mhm.
they probably tell them sketchy things about how to clock in and clock out or how to accept their pay. And like, it's a 14-year-old who probably doesn't know better or know
Yeah.
who to ask.
well, but
Will
see,
be like,
here's
is
the
that
thing.
regular?
If anything, this story proves the point that we have made multiple times that some people just cannot seem to understand. Minimum wage jobs are not for adults. Minimum wage jobs are for high schoolers. Minimum wage jobs are for people who are trying to save up money to buy a first car. Or to be able to buy popcorn and soda at the movies.
Yeah, at the levels that minimum wage is right now,
Yeah.
that's what it has to be for. But it's not. Like,
Yeah.
like the problem is that I don't think that that's possible anymore. I think there's too many people
There is.
looking for too many jobs for you to be able to say that some jobs aren't like at this
And
point.
the
I think,
labor market and industry have failed to adapt to that appropriately, which is why this is now a problem.
yeah, at this
Because
point,
this is what happens when you don't take care of your labor market. You get completely screwed.
at this point, a minimum wage job needs to be for an adult, and the minimum wage needs to be livable because
Yeah.
all the jobs that are on minimum wage, there are a ton of jobs now that are on minimum wage.
Yeah.
Whatever the minimum is, that's what they're going to pay out because
Well,
that's what
yeah,
they
and
can get
that's-
away with.
The problem is
And-
that 14 and 15-year-olds think it's a good deal because this is their first ability to gain any type of experience. And to be fair, for a lot of first-time employees, perhaps the wage is appropriate. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We could argue that for probably the rest of the evening if we wanted to. But, and so you have people stepping in to fill the need because this is the point in the labor market now where the perception between good deal and bad deal has come to rest.
Mhm.
At 15. If you're older than 15, probably not going to try to do this if you don't have to. If you're under that, shit, I don't have any other choices, may as well.
Yeah.
Which is kind of disgusting and sad, but young
Yeah.
people, if you work a minimum wage job, good for you. We all started somewhere.
Yep.
I made minimum wage cleaning golf clubs at the country club, so...
Ooh,
Yo,
that sounds better than my job.
Oh, it was great. I made tips, and we got, like, free leftover food from the kitchen at the restaurant.
Damn.
You got to drive the golf carts around. For a minimum wage job, it was honestly so fun. I love that job.
See, I started at
Yeah.
Sears.
Ugh. See, the job that I would not recommend was reffing children's soccer games.
Oh man.
I did that for a while, too, and the parents are obnoxious.
Yeah.
It was
Get up in
so
their face.
bad. I hate
Yeah.
it. Like, I am reffing games for, like, 8-year-old children.
nah, my kid's gonna be the next Messi fan.
It was so annoying.
Can't you see? Can't you see? Why are you not calling the game?
Like, these kids were so young, you didn't even, like, in the portal that you used at the end of the game to report, like, did the game get played? Did both teams show up? Like, that kind of shit.
Mhm.
You didn't even have to record the score of the game. Because they did not care. They're like, these kids are so young, we do not care. Like, just let them play, make sure nobody gets hurt, teach them the
Yeah.
rules, the end.
Nice.
And still, the parents are like, referee, how did you miss this? Or what about that? Like, oh my goodness, shut up. Anyway, I digress. Not all minimum wage jobs are created equal.
Yeah, well, so I guess the argument is like, okay, we have a lot of jobs on minimum wage that are worked by people who need to live. So the
Yep.
argument would be they need a minimum wage that's livable. A company argues back, the jobs that I make minimum wage do not provide enough value to pay to live, right? Like that's the pushback of the argument.
For
like,
an adult employee.
yeah,
yes.
like the pushback McDonald's gives is like, look, a person working at McDonald's cash register, like their argument is literally that should not be enough to live. Like I don't think that that's their argument, right? Like
Yes.
the person in that job should not be paid enough to live because that's like they're like you shouldn't expect like that kind of work to support you. Like that's their literal fundamental argument. So we take it at that. There are not that many options to solve the problem going forward, right? Like how are you going to solve this disconnect of we have all these jobs that are worked by people that need to
You hire a bunch of 14-year-olds
survive,
like this guy.
or well, like you just find 14-year-old, like, but I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you fix this at a large scale country national level? Like, I don't think there is a way to. Some people will argue.
I can push back on that because I think you're right. I think it's a difficult problem to solve, and yet locally, if you look at Dick's Hamburgers, right? The average Dick's employee makes between $17 and $19 an hour.
Well, yeah, so that's
to start.
So your counterexample is just one side changes their mind, and that's the problem, right? Like, you're just saying, well, the corporation just needs to realize that a person running the cash register can get
that's
paid.
Not much of a counter argument, is it?
Yeah, it's your argument is that the McDonald's can afford to pay the $17 to $19 per cash register because Dick's does it, and they get good publicity for it, and like, they have their college program and stuff and all that thing, and and they obviously do very well locally in Washington. So, like, the idea is that obviously paying the cash register is not going to ruin you in and of itself, but that you're convincing McDonald's will just say that's not scalable. We have thousands of cash registers compared to 20 for Dick's or whatever, right? Like, that's going to be the counter argument, or like, we have logistics they don't have to worry about, or blah blah blah, like that. So I don't know, like.
But, like, at what point
do we just rely on a corporate? Well, like, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the answer is.
I'm saying, at what point do you have to calculate the opportunity cost of being chronically understaffed?
Well, that's. I guess maybe you just push that. Like,
is it not worth it to be properly staffed and operate at 100% efficiency instead of 70?
No, dude. McDonald's already has.
Maybe someone did the math.
No, dude. McDonald's literally already solved that problem. They have touchscreen POS systems.
Oh, so
literally no employees.
They don't even have employees anymore?
Some of them, no.
It's been so long since I've been in one, I honestly had no idea.
You probably still need employees to, like, clean things and stuff.
Well, yeah, like the cooking and stuff. I don't think that's fully robotic quite yet.
But, I mean, I have seen, like, the touch... I mean, but the problem, those aren't perfect. They can break still, too.
Yeah.
But, they definitely are moving away from people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Some people will say, like, okay, well, if minimum wage isn't going to be livable, maybe you give, like, UBI to supplement that, and that's so huge argument. Like, UBI, like, oh my god, just giving people money when they might not even be doing anything. Oh no, like, can't.
And yet, the overwhelming majority of UBI studies I did in college when I studied economics and political science, and the overwhelming majority of UBI studies that I've done since, prove that it works the overwhelming majority of the time.
If they get $12 an hour from working the
politically, it's dicey, obviously, because there's this perception of people getting things that they don't deserve because we've come to a point in society where basic humanity is not worth anything. You have to earn basic humanity, which is why we have this problem.
It just, I feel like people don't understand that at this point, like, we can afford to give people things for free. Like, the advancements that humanity has made, like, the point of these advancements is to make the life of a general, in general human better without cost. Like, that's the idea, right? Like, you want to improve life without it costing anything to everyone. I mean, like, obviously, like, I understand the capitalist mindset of, to get the best, they have to give me something. Mm-hmm. But the idea is, like, if I invent something that in general makes everything better, like, that should just be in generally better, right? Like, like, people have decided, like, at some point people decided, like, I don't, like, the general quality of life no longer needs to improve. Like, I guess, I don't know. To me, it seems bullshit. Like, to me, it seems like the whole point of more efficiency is, like, we can afford to do things at a lower cost so that more people can have them.
Or you just defray the cost to somebody else and it is perceived as efficiency. So, like, this article is a great example. At 14 or 15, none of these kids have a driver's license. And so how are they getting to work? Mom and dad are having to take them.
Yeah, you either walk or someone takes you.
Or you take a bus or you walk.
But if you take the bus,
an efficient solution to this problem? Hey, great, Mom and Dad, let me add more shit on your plate so I can pay your kid minimum wage and give them basic job skills. Yeah. Like, I get it. If you have no choice, you're probably going to do it. But
probably take
to your point, the fact that that is a passable solution is annoying.
Yes, there's just a large disconnect,
Yeah.
There's too many people working jobs
Very large.
cannot pay to, there's not enough jobs there's not enough jobs that people consider worth, whatever,
people are
like
tired of
worth
getting
paying.
underpaid to work shitty jobs.
There's not enough jobs where I guess as a society people are like, that's the value that job creates is worth living, right? Like that's the fun of. There are too many people who think that, like just because you work a job does not mean that you should be paid living wage, which could be an argument. But if that's the case, then how are those people going to live? Is just my question after that. Like, okay, if you want to say that is not a job that should be paid a living wage, okay, but like if everyone is guaranteed the right to live, where does the supplement come from? Like if the minimum wage is a living wage, at least everyone is working, right? Like because everyone just gets a job.
Yep.
They get paid a minimum living wage, regardless of whether you think that they're providing enough value. They're at least providing some value.
Yeah. Well, and what is the cost of not paying people a living wage? How many programs are being subsidized with your own tax dollars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
are
right.
Effectively a write-off for the corporation so that they can pocket the difference.
Yeah, if everyone had a job and the number of food stamps that we had paid for reduced a lot, like technically you might be saving money there.
You know
right?
who one of the largest consumers of food stamps is?
Who?
Walmart employees.
Doesn't surprise me.
How is that acceptable?
What surprises me is that Walmart hasn't come up with its own way to track employee. Like what I have always thought is if I was trying to exploit my labor, this is a terrible chain of thought, but I was always like, if I was looking to exploit my labor market as much as possible, and I was like a Walmart or an Amazon specifically, because you have everything, like literally everything.
Yep.
I think what you do is you pay them some shitty wage, right? Some shitty wage that everyone, the whole rest of the world pays, and you let that sink in for a while. You watch them get on food stamps, and that they don't have enough money, and but you know that the competition isn't gonna pay them anymore. Then what you do is you offer them. You start buying my Kyle Bucks. You get paid in Kyle Bucks instead of US dollars. Kyle Bucks at Kyle Store are worth 1.25 per the dollar.
You effectively substitute your own currency and make them
you introduce your own premium currency and you make it so that they're gonna buy it from your store. They can buy 25% more if they buy it from you. But if you're recapturing that cost because they're giving the money back to you, like you essentially have created an almost free labor market for yourself. I have always wondered why is that illegal? It might be. Like it sounds
it's illegal
really bad.
to a certain extent, but
like,
by the same token, it can't be fully illegal because how many businesses offer their employees some type of tangible discount?
I guess
pretty much everybody.
I guess that is the equivalent. If Walmart just said if everything is, I'm surprised Walmart doesn't do that then. Why don't they just maybe their margin?
I'm sure at some point it becomes illegal because you can't just create your own currency.
Yeah, I guess.
Right, this is the whole problem that we have with crypto and why crypto is not regulated. Because additional currencies in the United States are not federally legal.
So at a certain point, people start...
if you give them discounts and they still pay in US dollars, you're fine.
I see.
The second you start to actually screw with the currency or the medium of exchange, I'm obviously not a legal scholar, but I feel like that's where they would probably start to have an issue. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just...
But okay, so it doesn't surprise me.
On the one hand, I feel like it's so annoying that we keep having to talk about this. On the other hand, I feel like there's a legitimate solution where people who don't want to work these jobs don't have to, and the restaurants who are willing to innovate and figure it out are the ones who are going to make an absolute shitload of money. Like, the solution here can be mutually beneficial. The question is, what is it and how do you scale it?
Yeah,
is it just paying people more money? Is it automating things? Is it a combination of the two? Is it something that nobody's thought of yet? Like,
I would think it's probably a combination of the two, but the problem is that the automation one is probably going to piss off some of the workers, right? Like, corporations are going to say, okay, we got to raise
took my jobs.
We got to raise our minimum wage. Yeah. We cut the employee force by 20%. We can afford to raise the salary by 20%.
But you cut my job.
Yeah, but you cut my job, and you cut my job. So then it becomes, yeah. Then see, this is the problem, right? Like there are not enough jobs to go around. There are too many people who need a living wage. Not enough jobs that are considered acceptable to pay a living wage, and if the only way to get those jobs to pay a minimum wage is to have less of them, then you solved one problem, but now you just have a surplus of people who just don't have any job, period. And now you're like, well, what
And
do we do
that's
with
where
those guys?
UBI could theoretically come in, but this is America, and apparently we don't believe in that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Oh my.
It's complicated. I mean, I won't pretend it's not complicated. I won't pretend like there isn't logic in the side on either side too. Like I
Yeah, I mean,
understand.
it's a complicated thing. It just feels like some of it shouldn't have to be. Some of it undeniably is and will always be. But some of it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I understand we will never probably agree on what the minimum value of a life should be, or should be.
I mean, talk to the
given, right?
insurance companies. The insurance companies haven't figured out. How do you think they sell you life insurance?
Sorry,
not premiums on your car insurance.
That's the wrong. We've calculated the minimum value of a life. I'm sorry. We will always disagree as a society on what the minimum value of like a life gets to deserve to enjoy.
Yeah, I got
right.
you.
Like that's what like what the minimum acceptable standard of living for a person is never going to be. Some people will say you get a whole room to yourself in a bed. Some people will like you get shelter. So some people will be like, you were born like that. I don't owe you more than that, right?
Yeah.
Like you do whatever you like. So we're never gonna find a line. But I do believe that if you want to like the whole point of living in a society is mutual benefit in my mind. Like right like. The reason you join a society is to benefit from infrastructure and, community, having supplies that you need, and people who share your ideals and are willing to defend them with you against people who don't share other people who don't share your idea. Like if you don't want that, go live as a hermit in the forest. I mean, okay, you're right. You don't want to contribute to anyone else's life and happiness, fine. But like that means no one should contribute to yours. So buy an island out somewhere by yourself, or go live in Antarctica away from a science facility or something. Go live somewhere society free if that's the case. But if you want to live in society, like I feel like you should contribute to the general beneficiary of everyone. Like that's the whole point of us being here. It's supposed to be the idea is in a group becomes easier and better for everyone. Like right, and in the group can't suddenly be like, all right, as long as we're in the group, things become easier and better as long as I want to do them. Like that's not government or a cooperation.
Dude, I get to pick and choose.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh my.
Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm idealistic, but it just doesn't seem. I don't know. Like, don't you drive on roads? Don't you want the hospitals to exist? Like those kind of things. Mutual beneficiary, right?
Well, in our next story of the evening, in a headline that will shock absolutely nobody, we have a lot of these tonight. Maybe we should call this the No Shit Sherlock episode. I'm not sure.
Ooh.
Amazon's biggest and hardest to solve ESG issue may be, are you ready? Its own employees.
Oh, no.
So this comes out after the National Council on Occupational Safety and Health includes Amazon in its dozen most dangerous employers list.
Nice.
But Jeff Bezos will thank you personally for sending him to space if you work there. So
of
it's like
all the things you could possibly get hurt doing for work, Amazon is one of the 12 most dangerous.
Nice.
That doesn't surprise me.
Not surprising at all.
Yeah, warehouse work in general, probably up there.
Yeah.
And then Amazon just happens to own almost all the warehouses in the United States.
Well, so here's the thing, though. Because I was looking at that, too, and I was like, yeah, I mean, just based on sheer volume, right? That has to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find the statistic.
what's the rate of getting injured at an Amazon warehouse versus a Walmart warehouse?
That is the exact example I'm looking for because it was in the study.
Like, yeah, like, okay, like, all right, Amazon employees get hurt at a rate. Is it because Amazon's warehouse style
Okay,
encourages
yeah, so here we
more
go.
mistakes?
Here
right?
you go. You ready?
Yeah.
Amazon workers are twice as likely to be injured on the job as e-commerce workers at Walmart.
Okay.
So
So
compared
it's twice.
to Walmart, twice as much. And
So,
then
yeah, accounting for
50%
volume and everything.
more than people who drive for UPS.
Oh, so that's truck drivers too. Okay, so yeah, so the counting for rate, Amazon's,
Absolutely
rules.
number one, and it's not even close.
Well, yeah, I'm saying accounting for rate, Amazon's rules and culture and what are the quotas or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Those drive you to obviously engage in riskier or dangerous behavior in order to meet this culture or these cues or whatever, these quotas or whatever, right? So I assume you're driving recklessly, driving fast, or driving late at night because you need to finish your route.
Or you're
So you're
lifting
tired.
things that are too heavy with poor technique, and
Or you're not taking
Lifting
breaks.
wrists.
Or you're running around a warehouse when you're not
You're
supposed to be
peeing in
running.
bottles as you're driving around.
also
Yes.
true.
Also potentially causing you to get into car accidents.
Also, you're just falling asleep at your
Yeah.
forklift because you're
Yeah.
tired. Yeah, probably not great for worker safety.
Yeah.
But see, I guess, again, this isn't news to us, and it's certainly not news to Amazon, right? Like, Jeff Bezos, in his last letter to shareholders before he retired, is like, we need to come up with a better vision for the future of our workers. It's like, they know that they have a problem, and yet,
was
again,
nice
I think this is one of those scenarios where it's convenient, it's up to this point in time. It has been more convenient to allow the status quo to continue than it has been beneficial to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, or people at least liked it enough. They liked the convenience that Amazon brought them.
Yes.
So they're like, well, I like 2-day shipping and same day delivery even.
Same day,
sometimes.
2-day,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I like that. So, like whatever they're doing, they should keep doing that. And then you find out, well, I got to pee in a bottle to get you that same day delivery. And then, like some poor driver's got to do whatever. Your delivery 72 on his list of 144 that he has to get done in the next 6 hours. So good luck with that.
Perhaps that's the question we should be asking people. Of the number of people who work at Amazon now or have in the past, how many of them still shop on Amazon?
Oh, actually, so I was washing my car the other day, and then at the place was like an Amazon employee, like a warehouse worker, and then she had needed a jump, and I didn't have my jumper cable, but I had my jump box, which I got on Amazon, and she's like, "Oh dang, where'd you get this thing? It's really nice." I was like, "It's off Amazon." She was wearing the Amazon vest, so I assumed either she would hate that or she would love it, and she hated it. She was like, I would never buy from Amazon. I'm not going to get anything like that. And I was like, okay, well, you might try O'Reilly's. And she's like, yeah, I'd rather do that than pay Amazon more money. And I was like, okay. So.
Well, does it also go back to the feeling like I said, I want to exploit my labor market by making them all shop in my own store. Do they feel like that when they shop at Amazon? Like, honestly,
Maybe.
Yes, I'm not sure.
Maybe they are cognizant of the fact that not only am I getting fucked by this company, I'm getting minimum wage to work this dangerous job that's even more dangerous than it's supposed to be, twice as dangerous as it's supposed to be, apparently. On top of that, do I really want to give them this money? What little money they give me, do I really want to give it back to them?
Hell no.
I want to just spite them.
Well, and so, to your point about that, every week they lose 3% of their hourly associates.
Really?
So is that a positive? Is that
no,
a
that's bad. That if you multiply that out for a year.
Yeah. So I understand. How many are they hiring a day? If they lose 3% of the day, are they hiring back? Like,
they have to. Their
the
annual
full
turnover
3%?
is 150% of their hourly labor workers.
Have they been growing or shrinking? Technically,
They've been growing.
They've been growing, so they've been hiring faster.
They added 500,000 workers in 2020.
So they've been
And
hiring
yet of
faster.
the hourly associates, their average turnover is 3% a week.
Okay, so a week they lose 3%, but they hire in 5% apparently a week. That's okay. So what happens? So
That's
most
so
of these
bad,
people that you
though.
hire,
150% in a year?
I'm not discounting that. That is awful. I'm just saying what happens. So like, okay, right now they're like, well, these people quit, but we hire people at a rate faster than that, right?
Yeah.
I assume the majority of the people they hire are first-time employees. Like,
Probably.
I assume 99% of the people who end up quitting this job quit for reasons where they do not ever go back, no matter like what happens.
Yeah.
So, what happens when you run out of new people? Right, new people is not an infinite resource. Well,
Robots, Kyle.
it's
Robots.
growing, but like I don't think it's growing at a rate that Amazon is hiring people, right? Or at least the worker force is not growing at that rate. Even if you started pumping out more babies right this second, you would have to wait 16 years for that to actually influence your population. So what happens when you run out? Is it robots? Why don't you just switch to robots now?
Well, but I think that's part of the reason why they're trying to fix some of these things. Is A, they realize that the labor market is not infinite.
Yeah, and I don't think robots are going to be there fast enough to fix it. Like, if it was going to be fast enough to fix it, I think they wouldn't care about labor. They would just be like,
yeah.
I think they would just say, we'll exploit them until we can't exploit them anymore, and then we'll just roll out robots.
But see, I also think, so part of it is they know that the labor market is not an infinite resource. But I also think they're at a point where, and this is going to sound bad, but it's probably at least partially selfishly motivated, right? How much additional profit could you bring in if you had better employee retention, less downtime due to injury? Like, yes, you, on a human level, probably do care that they're injured less and they're, not quitting their job as often or whatever, right? But e-commerce, for as rapidly as it's growing, eventually it's going to reach a level of maturity where you can only gain so much extra by continuing to scale at the rate that they are currently scaling. And so I think this is almost like a secondary revenue play in some way, shape, or form, because they've recognized that some of the gains that are left to be gained are going to come from that. But, which, I mean, it begs the question again, and we've talked about this in the past, so we don't need to do it again today, but this is why quantifying stuff by ESG categories is so damn hard. Because if you look at all of their renewable energy initiatives and other things, you're like, ooh, go Amazon. And then you look at worker relations and, oh shit.
You're like, oh, wait.
This is a massive problem.
Yeah.
So, bottom line, as always, like we say on the show, do your homework. If it sits well with you, as long as you're doing something, I guess that's what matters. But an interesting one to watch. I know a couple years ago, one of our local news, I don't remember which channel it was, they were interviewing Amazon workers in downtown Seattle over allegations of a hostile work environment.
Yeah.
And I don't remember why this woman is still in, I don't know why I still remember this 20-second clip. I don't know how old I was. It was a long-ass time ago. But this woman does not break stride, looks sideways at the camera, says, no comment, I love working at Amazon, I have nothing to say. And yet, the tone of her voice and her body language told you that she knew if she stopped, that she was fired. You knew. She was like, if anybody sees me say even one thing wrong, my ass is gone. So, I mean, it's been an issue since the beginning, but it's a very palpable cultural issue that I am very curious to see if they are successful at turning any of it around.
Or if they even bother to.
Yeah. That's the other question.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me that the people who become billionaires in life are also obsessively controlling of their employees. To be
No.
honest.
Of course not. This is America. That's how you become a billionaire. You exploit a bunch of other people and take all the money.
Mm-hmm. Stepping stones, dude.
Yeah. The real American dream.
Yeah.
Exploit all of your employees and become wealthy.
Value has to come from someone's labor, and if it's coming from your labor, then it doesn't feel like value.
Sad but true. Sad but true. So, we have 2 more stories tonight, and neither of them are good, but both of them should be relatively entertaining, because we can finally move on from the depressing reality of labor relations and exploitation.
Ooh.
So, it also wouldn't be a week if we didn't talk about Tesla, so we're going to go there. In the news again, after a vehicle on autopilot crashes into a stopped patrol car.
Oh my.
Now, the fundamental question here is not, does the autopilot work and does the autopilot not work? The fundamental question to me is, at what point do your own customers give you enough evidence that shows you they cannot handle the product that you deliver and you have to turn it off?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is like the 5th or 6th or 10th one of these, where somebody's like watching Finding Nemo on the nav screen instead of paying attention to the road, and they run into somebody. Like, I understand you want it to be an option because it's part of your like luxury suite of products that make somebody want to buy a Tesla, and you're probably mining all of this data anyway for the next level of autonomous driving programming.
I think that's the problem.
But
That
like,
it's-
shit, how many
it's
times
like-
are we going to have to do this? Like, NHTSA is already investigating all of these in a federal probe.
Ooh.
I think that's the problem, is that they rely on it to teach their driving AI. Like, their driving AI learns so quickly because they have all these Teslas on the road doing all of this self-driving. If you suddenly turn the feature off, it's not going to get better anymore. That's the argument. It's like,
I would
it
argue
needs to
that
be
there are
on the
ways
road
to
get
make
better.
it get better without all of the data, but I will readily concede that the absolute fastest way to do it is mine all the data from the cars on the road.
There are probably maybe there aren't ways to make it better without getting more data. I don't know. I do
It's
not
like you
know
could
how.
simulate all kinds of driving conditions and get a computer program to learn that stuff, but
I see your point, but like, yes, you could, but you would have what, like a handful of testers
nowhere near
doing
as fast,
scenarios all
You have
day.
no scale.
They would do versus thousands of cars just driving. Like, I understand why they need people to drive, and like, really, is it if Tesla says this feature, is not, they are very upfront. With
They
the
are very
effectiveness
upfront.
with the
To their
feature. Like, I
credit,
mean,
they
to
are
protect
honest.
themselves from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
so they need to be. But so because they do that, is it really the fault of Tesla that these people run into stuff like? If every time there's an accident, it comes out that the driver was in fact watching Finding Nemo or fell asleep or whatever, and the car attempted to alert them, failed to receive the manual intervention that it requires, and ended up in a crash. Like, I don't see how Tesla's gonna get dinged for this. And Tesla's argument is gonna be like, we need to keep doing it for like, if you want it to get better, it needs to keep happening. That's going to be their counter argument. And I don't see really a good argument against it, because as often as it happens, it is extremely rare.
It
You
is
know, we have
extreme-
millions of hours of
Statistically, it's
road
very
time.
rare. That is true.
Yeah, right? Millions of hours of on-road time across all the cars and so many accidents.
Yep.
Divide that up. It's not fast enough for it to be.
It's still
probably
fewer
considered a
accidents than human drivers get into on a daily basis if you adjust for scale.
And
Yeah.
so Tesla will argue, we already are saving lives. On top of that, just by doing it, it gets better, and then you save more lives. So, like, why would you turn it off?
And
Like,
we
right?
have a disclaimer that says, don't be a jackass. This
Yeah.
is not actual autopilot.
Pay
And,
attention.
Yeah, and the AI part is huge for Tesla, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge part of what their unique appeal and what drives their revenue is the idea of there's no way you asking them to turn off the self-driving, that they'd be like, what's the point of selling a Tesla anymore? Like, why would you buy the Tesla anymore?
Like at this point, being an electric sports car is not unique enough. There are many electric sports cars that I can go blow my billionaire money on. I guess at this point,
Yeah.
like like why do I want a Tesla? Because I don't need a chauffeur anymore. This is the problem, right? That's the problem mentality is that some people think like I don't need a chauffeur anymore, but at the same point, it's kind of.
Yep.
So I understand the argument, like, do they turn it off? Don't think it ever happens.
Mm.
Tesla will literally die as a company before they let that happen, and
Yeah.
I don't think America really wants. I think
No.
as much as the government doesn't like Elon Musk, they want strong American corporations.
Yep.
Tesla's a huge name. Like imagine if Musk was like, I'm going to India or China or whatever because you guys and your regulation on my self-driving car, like that would be awful. That would be horrendous look for the United States. Like it would, whoever would be currently president, they would be ripped apart. They would be like driving away American corporations. Weakening the economy.
What
That person's political career is suicide.
Yeah.
It's just it would be awful.
Those commercials write themselves.
Yeah, like it would, it would be the end. So I don't see it happening. I don't. I see regulation around self-driving cars happening, but I bet it's around the driver.
Yeah.
Like right, like it's rules for what the driver has to do when using a self, and it's just going to be more legal protection for Tesla. Essentially, they're just going to be like, you didn't comply, like unless you can prove that you complied with all these new laws and still got in the crash. It's not our fault.
You know what the creepiest thing would be? I could see it happening too, is because they probably already do, but like cameras inside the vehicle to monitor you. So it's like, oh, are your eyes closed? Are you sleeping and then if your eyes are closed, then like disable or it probably
would you sign that? Because at that point, all right, I need a new consent form. Would you sign that consent form to buy a Tesla if you knew that your car was always watching you?
I would not.
I mean, but people with the phones, the always listening. I mean, that the phone is always listening for the
You
hey
have
Google.
an Alexa in your living room.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, people have kind of already glazed over or started accepting the idea of constant surveillance at the
How do you think online ads work?
Convenience.
It's the same damn thing.
But
so
I've been followed around by a pair of slippers for a week now. Because I sent them to my wife as a joke.
It is a lot more, intrusive to be literally told there is a camera here watching you. I mean, it's not like a security camera, a home security camera that you set up where you're like, well, I set up the camera. Even if the company has some sort of Chinese bootleg program in it, sending all of the videotape back to it, at least I know that I set it up.
It's like a perpetual driver's ed car.
Yeah.
Somebody is always watching you.
Do you really? Would you sign that, Jordan? Would you buy a Tesla anyways without that? B, if that was added, would you buy it after that?
I mean, I would consider buying one. Yes.
Just without. Okay. But
would
now
I
they
sign
add this.
that?
Would you sign that specific? They ask you you have to sign this additional form. It's because we have cameras that monitor the state of the driver, or we have sensors and cameras that monitor the state of the driver to ensure that they are following proper. Or in proper condition and proper operation of the
Honestly,
vehicle.
probably, and here's why. I think in a real world scenario, I would not be brave enough to test the limits of a self-driving system.
Yeah.
I do not possess that level of trust in anything.
Well,
not in other people, not in myself.
So for
certainly
me,
not
that
in
is
a robot. In my
that would be an argument for it to not have the camera. That would be for me. If I was like that, I would want the cameras less because I would be like, these cameras are literally never going to do anything for me because
but
I
if
am not the type of
nothing
person
to hide
to follow.
and it prevents me from getting a car, I would sign the document.
No. It's not that I have nothing to hide. It's the idea that I am just being watched 24/7. I don't have to be doing anything wrong. It is just the idea that you have a camera here that you put here. I didn't put it here. You put it here, and it's just watching me always. And if I know that I'm never going to do anything wrong, and this camera provides no extra value, then I am for free, because this is not, you know, Tesla will sell it to you as the cameras are here for your protection.
Yep.
If they are not protecting me, because I am an individual who never put myself in that situation, I am just giving you for free a 24-hour surveillance feed of the interior of my car. That I would have a problem citing that. I don't think I would cite it.
So
I don't think I could.
I guess then we just have a fundamental difference in our perceptions of privacy. So, like, for me, as a general rule, I don't believe that I have any privacy to begin
Well, I don't
with.
believe that I have privacy either.
Right
to a
now,
certain
I'm
extent,
certain
but
I'm being watched by half a dozen different
But-
things anyway.
if that's true, why do you go out of your way to expose yourself more? I mean, like,
Right.
sure, there are entities that have your information that are watching you right now. My phone monitors me, so Google
Yep.
and Samsung have certain information about me. You know,
Hi,
like
Tim Cook.
I use Firefox as my browser, so Mozilla gets the information from me. And I understand that, like, all this tracking happens, but, like, because I understand that it happens, why would I want more to happen? Like, that's
like,
the whole
willingly
point. Yeah,
put a cam-
that's the whole point of knowing that it happens.
I got
Jordan,
you.
is
Yeah.
that if you know, like, you should take care to expose yourself as little as possible, so
Right.
that you limit the information out there. And say if you just give up everything, then, like, there are cases where you will be hurt when you didn't have to be, because the average person wouldn't have been hurt, because, you know, like, just the minimum effort of
Fair.
doing something, you know, of not having a camera in your car, I guess, like, you know, protects you from some level of privacy versus, you know, like, you know, because, like, I mean, like, even if you're like, every corporation's always gonna have their stuff, like, you know, corporations can get breached. So if Tesla gets breached, now whoever breached Tesla now has a 24/7 feed of my camera inside my
Right.
car.
This is
Right,
the
and-
difference between somebody who works as a marketer and somebody who actually codes tech. Right?
So it's just
Yeah.
in my mind, if I was actually prone to abusing the self-drive, which maybe I personally would be more likely to do, to abuse the self-driving system rather than to responsibly use it, then the cameras would actually kind of start making sense, because I'd be like, I do kind of get really tired while driving home, you know? Like, there's like a pretty good chance that if it's driving for me, that I just, you know, then I might be like, maybe I need the camera. But, you know,
Yeah.
with your mentality, Jordan, I actually find it harder to buy into the idea that the camera was there, because I'm like, well, if I'm certain that I am not going to do dangerous behavior, which is utter bullshit. If I say that, I'm sorry. Like, you know, if you say there will be a time where you engage in risky behavior anyways, but like,
I'm sure there would be. I'm just saying it would be a lot less.
yeah, like
frequent.
it's but okay, so that would be like, it's like, this feature is not for me. It's not that important for me, because
Yeah.
like, you know, like, this will only happen like once in the entire time I own this
It will
car.
only
Yeah.
turn on when I'm going over to Eastern Washington and I'm tempted to go like 120 on the freeway
Yeah,
because
so-
it's dead flat and there are no cars.
Yeah, and like, the camera needs to turn on to see if I had a heart attack and my foot is like
Yeah.
jammed on the accelerator or something. Like, yeah, like I understand that, you know, like, that's gonna be the only situation. But for me, it's like, okay, well, if that's the only situation, then I don't want it. Like, I don't want it. Like, I want to, like, like, I would be
Yeah.
tempted to, like, you know, like how people with the
Cover it up
webcams
with something.
put tape or something over.
Yeah.
I would be tempted to start doing that. In which
Yeah.
case, then you probably render the car inoperable. 'cause
Yeah,
then it
or
can't
at least
stop.
you lose. Maybe it's only active when you try to enable certain features.
Yeah,
So self-driving mode or something. So then maybe it's disabled. But I guess there's a couple things. Well, okay, so a particular company that I used to work on projects for tried to implement something in one of our projects, and I outright refused to do it because it was recording it was like collecting data and recording your face all the time.
You're not
And
still
I was like-
subject to an NDA, are you?
I mean, I would just rather not say.
No,
that
that's what I
much.
mean. I'm saying be
Yeah.
careful what comes out of your mouth.
No, that's not NDA. But yeah, I was like, I refuse to do that. But also, I guess, so what if Tesla, because so some people currently have dash cams, right, that record you,
Yeah.
and then a lot of Uber drivers have that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what if Tesla were to work out some deal somehow with every insurance company and be like, okay, you get a massive discount if you get the cameras on,
Oh, it's a
So it becomes
incentivized.
It becomes like the safe driving thing that you plug into your car,
Yes.
because people do that, right? And that
Yes.
is information,
And
right?
I
It shows
refuse
you-
to plug that in because my right foot is 10 pounds heavier than my left, and my
So
insurance
you-
rates would go up.
So you refuse to do that reason, but like
Yes.
theoretically, a person could be like, well, that's gonna show you literally
where I drive back and forth every day, right?
Yeah.
Like it shows you my commute or wherever the store, like because it's got to track you driving and see if you're driving in dangerous places. Like I assume.
Yeah.
So like personally, I would be like, look, I want my insurance to go down. I plug in the. Well, actually, I
would
wouldn't.
be more
I-
inclined.
actually-
if
actually,
it
I-
could mean my insurance would go down.
Yeah, I would be on Jordan's side actually because I probably would rate as an aggressive driver and thus not benefit from this. But assuming that I could actually benefit from it, the cost benefit trade off of you get my location data, I save on my insurance, probably is worth it to me, right? So
But
I
this
could
is
see-
with the camera though.
yeah. So no, but I
Yeah.
could see the
Okay.
same argument being made for okay. Tesla says like think of it as a dash cam, all right? We
Yeah.
make a deal with the insurance companies where you treat this camera, it guarantees a certain level of driver competency or the
Yeah.
driver security, so that you can't get blamed as much or whatever. Your rate
Right.
goes down or whatever, and maybe at that point, as a user, I'd be like, well, okay, if I'm saving, my insurance bill is gonna go down by like $50 a month. Like it sounds petty, but $600 is it's not a lot really when you think about it as a lump sum. But if you're just offered it as a deal to give up your privacy, it's
Yeah.
a lot better.
Yeah.
I
And that
could,
car starts to pay itself off like a lot sooner too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the problem is I don't know. How does Tesla convince insurance companies to give them that kind of kickback?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like if Tesla does it, then every car company could be like, well, if we just install a camera in our car,
Yeah.
does that mean we also get this kickback or
Yeah.
whatever?
That's
And
true.
insurance
It's an
companies will be
intriguing
like,
idea, though. I like it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know that I would do some of it, but interesting.
Yeah, because that would be. I get that's one way that I could see them trying to sell that as a thing if
Yeah.
it were to become a thing.
I think ideally it would be like if you could hook up your dash cam. Like maybe the car doesn't come with a camera, but you could
it's an add-on.
choose to add on. Like it has software that says like you could plug in your dash cam and we will use it. And then if you choose to elect into the program by using your own camera or whatever, then you get some sort of benefit.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Like I guess.
Yeah.
Because then it would be like, all right, it's a choice. I don't have to be monitored if I don't want to be. But if I do choose to be monitored and have this program on, I get some sort of kickback out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's then you have the security of mind. If I want to turn it off, I can unplug my camera and see that there is no camera connected anymore.
Yeah.
Like the problem
Except
with
for what happens to your insurance when you unplug that camera.
well,
for
that's why I
10
said if you
minutes.
decide it's no longer worth it and you're like, I want my rate to go back to normal or whatever, just unplug the camera. Then I mean, it's the same thing as unplugging the thing from your car. It's like the insurance gonna go, well, you're not gonna tell us that you're a good driver. We're gonna assume you're a bad one,
Yeah.
right? That's how insurance companies work. So, oh,
Hmm.
I like it though. I do think that would be a way to approach because just as is, I would be like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want the camera. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I know.
Yeah, I mean, there'd have to be some type of kickback.
Like that would, I feel like that would actually be like a deal breaker for me in buying a Tesla. If you told me that I had to have this camera watching me all the
Yeah.
time, I'd be like, I don't know about that, man. I don't know. It just seems a little too much,
Yeah.
right? Like,
That's fair.
Don't even-
to each their
don't
own.
need my robot car watching me all the time. It
Yeah.
makes me unsettled.
Oh
like-
my.
Like if the Tesla robot, would you want that always on?
Depends what
Well,
it's doing.
It's kind of that's true too. Like if it's meant for
If it's doing
industrial.
my dishes and vacuuming my floor, then yeah.
See, like if it was for home use, I feel like I would want it to be able to turn off. But if it's like in a factory, you're like, well, I want it working all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole point of a robot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of a like, would you? I mean, eventually you'd have to be the idea of a robot butler. You eventually have to be comfortable with the idea of a
Yeah.
sensors and camera being in your house and constantly evaluating. I just wonder when society gets to that point where we're just like, okay, just whoever built this robot, you can see everything in my house. When my
Mhm.
children, when I'm nude, as my children change, right? Like that's that's where it gets iffy. When like I have kids, they're nude occasionally at home, right? Like that
Yeah.
happens. The robot sees it. Am I, do I feel comfortable with a robot with a camera
Yeah.
passing by and seeing my naked child?
I
That
think
is
it
going to
depends
be a
if there's
thing.
cognition of what that is or not.
But like,
But I also
does it
think
get
sounds
stored
like the Matrix,
somewhere? Like,
at
does
which
that get
point
sent
all of
and
us will be
stored
dead,
somewhere? Does a
so.
human have to evaluate that? Like, I don't like it. It would, like you say, it would entirely depend on the company, what they say they do, how they say the camera feed is processed, what happens to the camera feed over. Like, is it stored for 12 hours for security reasons or for playback? Like, and then if it's stored for 12 hours, where is it stored and who has access to it? Because like that's 12 hours of my life that you have there.
Yeah.
It's like, like maybe it's 12 hours of us sleeping. Maybe it's, I mean, like, things could be like, the robot is going to see your whole home security system, right? Like, it's going to look at your front door and see what your locks look like.
It could
and,
effectively case your house. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like, I wonder at what point do you become comfortable enough with the company where you're just like, I wonder what company gets there too, I guess. What company cements itself as either trustworthy enough or just essential enough where you don't care. Like, it's one or the other, right? It's probably the second one. Because I doubt that anyone ever gets comfortable enough to do it. I just trust this company like that. It's probably, I need by and largest stuff. So
How much would Amazon have to pay the Hyundai parent group to buy Boston Dynamics?
Yeah, more money than
Yeah.
especially if I'm
There
if
you
I'm
go.
Hyundai and Amazon is calling me, then the price added like 3 zeros to that.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that it was Amazon calling me, I'm like, no, like
Yeah.
I'm not letting you into this field. This is the end of the field if I let you in. So like,
Yeah.
I'm getting as much as I can out of it.
Starting to feel more and more like Wall-E every day.
Mm.
More The Matrix, or pick your favorite.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Oh my. An
Right.
interesting idea, though, with the camera in your car that gets you insurance kickbacks. Subsidize the price of your Tesla. But our last story of the night is less of a story that we... Like, we can lampoon this as much as we want. That's not the point. But the point, if you watch these things, is that if you're interested in SPACs, and in 2020 with COVID recovery funds and everybody working from home, everybody got into SPACs. The moral of the story here is be careful which one you buy, because the more you start to look at some of these things, the more you start to see people starting to cut some corners. Case in point today is Peloton.
Ooh.
You may be familiar with the ongoing recall of their exercise treadmill.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
the
exercise
recall
treadmill?
of their exercise treadmill has now put them under a joint investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Department of Justice. Because initial customer complaints were ignored and outright refuted for a while before they decided, hey, we need to recall these because they're hurting people.
Oh boy.
So, apparently, and I've not seen any of the videos, apparently the way the treadmill was designed, like, it could literally suck children underneath the running treadmill. I don't know if you have to be running on it to get sucked underneath, or if you're, like, next to it and it, like, sucks you under the side. I don't know.
Where does it? How do they fit under? Like, where does the child? Does it come back? Do they come back out? Like,
I have no idea.
Wow.
Jesus.
Oh, so the front doesn't have a guard. Like, the front of the belt has...
Oh,
actually,
it doesn't?
No,
I
the
probably
front
should've looked
and
at a picture
the
of
front
this.
and back of the belt does not have a guard. So if you, assuming a child, like a toddler, were to crawl up from the backside and get their head stuck, it would suck them under.
Oh,
I can see how
dude,
that
No
happens.
way. Yeah, look at that.
Jesus.
That's an expensive treadmill if it's going to suck up your kid and get him stuck underneath it. Damn.
Holy shit.
Okay.
Interesting.
So Peloton had a SPAC going though, or whatever for this.
Well, so Peloton, you will recall, was made famous by the exercise bike.
Yeah.
That was the first product before they decided they wanted to be a total health and wellness fitness company.
Yeah, their whole thing is it's not just the equipment, right? It's the software, right?
Well,
That's
it's
their-
the
anyone can buy,
software,
like,
the
a-
subscription, the
Yeah,
classes.
they have classes. They have like they're the ones with the electronic Tour de France that you can fucking
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
through, and they have
Mhm.
all their virtual classes. So their whole thing is not just it's not exercise equipment, like you were saying. It's
Yeah.
more of like a exercise lifestyle. that they
Actually, I
sell.
take it back. They were not a SPAC. They were an old school IPO.
So they just
Correction.
went public and shit the bed.
They
at the
just
worst
went
possible
public
time.
and were shitty. Yes, apparently.
At the worst possible time.
I
Nice.
just assumed that it was a SPAC because everybody did it, but no, I stand corrected.
I'm
But
still
yeah,
kind of
bottom
like,
line, like new sexy technology and shit like this. Be careful what you're looking for, but also, this did not have to be an issue, right? You get a customer complaint that somebody got sucked under your treadmill. You can choose to fix it, and the issue goes away with minimal collateral damage. Or you can try to say that this does not exist.
well, it's the scene from what is it, Fight Club, right?
Yeah.
The beginning of the opening scene of Fight Club, he's the insurance adjuster, right, for the cars, and he goes, "My job is to calculate the cost of everyone suing us,
Yep.
just letting the problem go, and everyone's suing us and paying out damages, versus the cost of a recall. And you know what? A couple hundred people dying in a flaming car accident, that is cheaper.
Jasper!
Maybe Peloton did a cost analysis. They were like, you know what? As long as less than 100 kids get sucked under there, it's cheaper to just throw it out."
Well, like that was the problem with the Ford Pinto too, right? They knew that there was a fault with the bumper or whatever, so that if it got in a car accident, it could burst into
Yeah.
flames and explode.
Mhm.
But they calculated the estimated cost, and they were like, "Nah, just keep pumping them out. It's fine."
Yeah, like we'll
Yeah.
make enough money where once the bill comes to collect, we will have enough to pay it and still be rich.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Just
So
silly.
I'm not saying that's what happened with Peloton. Maybe they just failed to test their product. But part of me, I mean, like Kyle said, it's got no guard on the front and back. It seems like it was kind of asking for someone to try to stick
Well, they
something
designed
underneath.
it to be. They designed it because they were trying to make a piece of workout equipment that looked nice enough that it didn't have to be in a workout room.
Yeah, and
Like,
like
they wanted this to be like at home in the modern condominium living room, right?
yeah,
It's
the
as
person,
much a piece of art as it is a piece of exercise equipment.
yeah,
Right.
the people they peddle their lifestyle towards definitely
Yeah.
have a certain aesthetic
Yeah.
that they want to maintain in their life, and you know,
Mhm.
like where exercise equipment is something that is meant to be kind of shown off because it shows that you exercise. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like you know, like it's,
Yeah.
that's kind of the point of it. It looks nice, and it looks nice so that they know that you are serious about
Yeah.
exercise,
Mhm.
right? This isn't some shitty treadmill. This is a Peloton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't buy the clearance model from Big Lots. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Fitness 19 doesn't have this.
No.
You know, like whatever.
Well, any closing thoughts for the week, guys, other than lots of questionable decision making at the corporate level?
No, I guess I just hope we're all having a pretty good month. I guess I just
Everyone
hope
is in the
that-
green by a healthy margin. I would like to think it's going to end that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
Hopefully there's no in the remaining 2 business days of the week.
2
no
market
catastrophic.
days. Yep.
No
Yeah.
catastrophic corrections on our end.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Alrighty, guys. Best of luck with those final 2 days. May your September get off to a hot and fast start. And I will talk to you again next week, and we'll see how everything settles.
Yep, definitely. Take
Later.
care, guys.